We are live on the internet. Welcome to a new live broadcast. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about this. This is the Sony Xperia XZ1. An absolutely fantastic smartphone so far. I've been really enjoying my time with it. This was very kindly sent out to me by Vodafone UK. If you want to check them out, there is a link down in the video description to their website. And I think my early impressions of this will be of great interest to you, primarily because a lot of you have been asking about my road along switching to Android, you know, how the journey's going. A lot of you have been asking me about the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 as well, which I'll talk to you a little bit about in this particular broadcast. And if you've got any questions at all, please do feel free to either put them in the regular chat or in the super chat. If you want your question or comment highlighted, then I'll give priority to the super chats. But first of all, I just want to talk to you about this particular smartphone. It's got a really good camera on it, and you know, if you've watched my videos regularly, you know that the camera performance is very important to me. On the front, it's got a 13 megapixel camera. Round on the back, it's got a 19 megapixel camera. It's capable of capturing really good photos. I'll show you some in a short while, but it's also capable of capturing 4K video. Now, I have recorded a 4K video sample. I had a few of you now ask me to do this with all of the smartphones I get in, and that's going to be up on the Geekanoids channel probably in about a week's time, because I've got to edit it and just make sure that it's uploaded and ready for you to view. But I viewed back the footage recorded on this, and I was very impressed. Super impressed. Very clear video. But I'll let you judge for yourself when you watch that video back. So before we talk a little bit more about the Xperia XZ1, let's say a big hello to those of you who've tuned in early. We've got Sumu Nath. Hello to you. Also Audi123000, Rui Abru, Chris Bryson and Aaron Stoy. Thank you very much for tuning in, and also to the rest of you for tuning in to the live broadcasts. If you're not currently in the chat, then please do say hi, and also pose your questions, because during this broadcast I will take questions a little bit later on. Now, I want to show you the product box first of all. This is what the XZ1 comes supplied in. So it's just a very plain box. On the back here it says some of the specifications. 19 megapixel camera on the rear. Also worth noting that the camera has steady shot optical image stabilization. We've also got a 5.2 inch full HD display, which is an HDR display as well, and wow, it does look good, very good indeed. We've also got USB-C for charging. A 2700 mAh battery might not sound like a lot, but that is plenty. We've also got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835, so a nice fast processor in here, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage, and also that storage can be expanded with a micro SD card. Now, I have already tested that during my 4K video test, and it works extremely well. We've also got IP65 and IP68 water and dust resistance on here as well, so a really nicely specified smartphone. Now let me show you the design. So we've obviously got quite narrow bezels left and right. We've also got quite large bezels on the top and the bottom, and the bezels top and bottom have never been an issue for me. As long as I've got a nice display, and a nice large display, and at 5.2 inches I think that's just about sort of the sweet point for display size. I would be lying if I didn't say I prefer a larger screen than that, but it's not too small. I do like the actual build quality of this smartphone. Let me give you a close-up look at this. It's just really nicely made. It's like a metal chassis on this. We've got the fingerprint sensor built into that side button and the volume rocker. Also an actual direct camera button here, so this goes directly to the camera, which I really like. And then round on this side we've just got the SIM tray, and then, or the SIM and memory card tray, and then we've got USB-C there, another microphone top and bottom, and 3.5mm audio jack. So we've kept the audio jack. Now, because this is a metal chassis, it doesn't support wireless charging, which of course is a shame. Maybe Sony will do that next time around. I have got a prediction coming up later on in this video as to what I think will possibly happen with the next range of Sony Xperia smartphones. But let's have a look at that camera on the back. So there's a single camera on the back, as you can see there. Very, very cool though, really nice design. And the sensors on the back, and obviously the dual tone flash that you can see there. And then let's just turn this round. You can see up the top there we've got the Sony branding, front facing camera, etc. And we've also got front facing speakers, so stereo front facing speakers on this. So when you're watching back a video, as long as you don't sort of cover up the speakers whilst you're watching, you've got somewhere to hold on to, obviously in both orientations. And my experience of watching videos back on this, I've watched a few YouTube videos and the video I recorded on it, really good. This display, and it is an HDR display, is impressive. It's only 1080p, so it's not a 4K resolution, but if I turn this brightness up, it just goes super bright. Now obviously the camera's going to compensate for the brightness, but it is very bright. You ready for this? Look at that. And that's with the camera trying to compensate for it. It's just about managing to compensate for how bright this screen goes. Now we have also got the fingerprint sensor built into this side button. So if I just show you that, so we lock it and then unlock, lock it, unlock, and it does it almost instantaneously, very, very fast. Let me turn that brightness down and do it again. So locked, unlock, locked, unlock. It's just perfectly placed. So I've obviously just trained my thumb's fingerprint or thumbprint on that side button, and it's just so well done. I've said this about previous Sony smartphones, integrating it into the side, into the power button, was the way to go. It's very good indeed. I think it's probably better than on the back here, where you train your index finger when you've got the fingerprint sensor on some smartphones just here, like on the LG range of smartphones. I personally prefer it on the side, and of all of the attempts to unlock it, and I must have tested it probably about 100, maybe 200 times, I've only had 2 times fail, and I think it was my fault because I had my thumb very awkwardly positioned on that power button. With regards to battery life, it's too early for me to say how good the battery life is, but I think it is going to be pretty good because on previous generations of Sony Xperias, they do really good power management, and you've also got this stamina mode as well, which you can turn on to further extend the battery life. So I've been really pleased. Now, with regards to software, this is running Google Android version 8.0.0 straight out of the box, so the very latest version of Android. I think we might be up to 8.1 on the beta versions, but a really nice experience, and it's pretty much stock Android. There is obviously some Sony animations and a little bit of overlay, a little bit of customization, but very minimal. The skin that Sony do on their Android phones is very, very tiny, you know, very, very system friendly as well. So really pleased, really very impressed. So I'll talk to you about the camera performance in a short while, but before I do so, let's just have a look inside the chat and see what questions we got. We got some more hellos from Mike and Geekanoids. Sumyu Nath says, what watch are you using? If you're referring to my fitness tracker, this is Fitbit Charge 2 is my fitness tracker. I only wear a fitness tracker now because I wear a traditional wristwatch normally on my other wrist. I have been recording a watch video for you, a little bit of an insight over on my watch lifestyle channel, so that's youtube.com/watch lifestyle. It's just been rebranded, just been relaunched. Please do check it out. I'll put it in the chat in a moment. I've just been doing a video about this Squale. This is the Atmos 30 Ceramica GMT. A gorgeous, gorgeous timepiece. Before I answer the rest of those questions, I will just let you know the URL for my other channel, and please do go over there, check it out. If you like what I do, then hit that subscribe button. So back to the questions. Audi is asking, what's the battery life like on the XZ1? Too early to say yet, as I mentioned, but I've got no doubt that it will be good. Rui Abru says, I'll try not to ask any iPhone questions. Let us know if you're doing an iPhone live chat tomorrow. Yes, if the iPhone 10 arrives at a reasonable time tomorrow, so not right at the last minute, but if it arrives at a reasonable time, I will be doing an unboxing, also first impressions, and obviously take some of your questions as well. So keep an eye on my Twitter for that. I'll announce that as and when it happens. James Seville, hi Dave, I'm due to upgrade my OnePlus 3T. What do you think I should go for? Not a big iOS fan. Well, OnePlus have just announced, I think it's the 5T if I'm not mistaken, so that's a possibility. We also had the Razer phone announced just yesterday. This is very reasonably priced as well. You can get it on contract from Vodafone UK. You can also pick it up SIM free if that's your preferred choice. This is very reasonably priced. And we've also got the Huawei Mate 10 Pro, which I'm hoping to get in to cover in a future video. That looks very promising, a little bit higher price than these other ones, but certainly looks like a really good contender. Chris Bryson says, good news on the headphone jack. I've tried switching to Bluetooth headphones, but I don't find it reliable enough. Audio lag is often an issue too. Yeah, audio lag can be an issue, but thankfully we have got a 3.5mm audio jack. What I would say to you, Chris, though, is that even when you haven't got a headphone jack, you still get a dongle in the box or an adapter with all of the smartphones that are switched to USB-C. You can just plug that onto your favourite pair of headphones and leave it connected, and then you forget the adapter's even there. So it's not a big issue, in my opinion. For some people it is. Some people lose them, but what I would say is if you've got a few pairs of headphones, I know it's an extra expense, but they're only probably about £5 or £6 in the UK, maybe $5 or $6 in the US. Just buy half a dozen, or however many you need, of the USB-C to 3.5mm headphone adapters. And then, instead of having it laying around loose and just plugging it in as and when you need it, just plug it onto all of your headphones. Really good way of doing it. I do that with my USB-C adapters for my laptop. Instead of just having one that I have to remember to take with me everywhere, I plug them onto all of my cables that I need to adapt, and then they're already adapted. Audi 123000 says, on my S7 Edge, the fingerprint sensor is in the home button and works very well. That's really good to hear. Sumu Nath says, you are doing a live stream about a Sony phone, the XZ1, using a Sony camera, and indeed I am. You can see the box just up here. This is the box to the Sony AX53, which I'm using to broadcast this video with, and that AX53 is working out very well. You know what I like about it is when you put something up nice and close to the screen, come on, don't let me down, it focuses in really nice and quickly. Look, I'm all blurred in the background and the phone is nice and in focus. So I really do like that. I love the focus on this. I think it works extremely well. Mike Major says, is it a phone you would consider for your daily driver? You know what, I probably wouldn't consider this one as my daily driver, but I did some video coverage on the XZ, I don't know if it was the XZ1 Premium or just the XZ Premium, but I would probably look towards that because I like a bigger screen, and it's pretty much this but just with a bigger screen. But if you're looking for something a bit more compact, this is so beautifully built, and this I think is called something blue. I can't quite remember the name of the colour, but this is like a bluey grey colour, and I really do like it. And another thing I've noticed with this is it doesn't show up fingerprints, so it is not a fingerprint magnet, and that's thanks to it not being a glass back, so I really do like that as well. Jose Angel Sylvan Garcia, with respect to the luminosity as the camera goes, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Repose your question. I can't quite work out what you mean by that, and I'll try and answer the best I can. Simon says, gonna buy the Sony MDR 1000 Mark II headphones. Are Bluetooth headphones better if you buy today? As in, have there been improvements? Yes, with the latest headphones you get aptX technology. Also, Sony headphones or Sony Bluetooth headphones in combination with a compatible device have also got a better way. I think it's called MDAP technology. So you get a better bit rate going through from the phone to the headphones. So better bit rate should equal better sort of detail in the audio. And they have improved a lot. And I really rate those MDR 1000s. I haven't tested the Mark IIs, but I really rate the 1000s very, very highly. Oscar Herrera, hello again from Bolivia. Hello to you. Really nice of you to tune in. James Ag says, Dave, very refreshing of you to mention the bezels. No bothering you. Do you think there is a media bias towards bezel-less phones? Also, the bezels are great for speakers and gamers. I thoroughly agree. I don't think it's a media bias. I think it's like a trend. And when people start showing an interest in bezel-less phones and big screens taking up a big percentage of the front of a smartphone, I think the media just focus on it. It's not necessarily a bias, but they just highlight the fact that this has got bezels, because all of the other ones, or probably 7 out of 10 phones nowadays, are highlighting bezel-less as a feature. The Razer phone that was announced just the other day has got something for you to hold on to, and it's got 120 hertz display. How cool is that? So, you know, it's not necessary, I'll rephrase that or say it correctly, it's not necessarily a good thing to have no bezels, because if you're watching video you have to sort of hold the phone like this, you know, to avoid touching it, and you get accidental inputs. Whereas with this, like I said earlier, you've got 2 places you can put your thumbs on to hold it. You haven't got to worry about accidental input when you're holding it like this. I know things have improved with like the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the S7 Edge. With that, they did improve things with accidental input, but it was still an issue for me. I even have an issue with the MacBook Pro that I use, because the trackpad goes so close to the edge that my palms touch it sometimes, and then when I'm scrolling it's not working, and I think, I've got to move my hands further apart. So it's not always a good thing. As they say in design, I used to be a graphic designer, white space is a good thing. So empty space can add to the design. Bezels can add to the functionality of a smartphone, most definitely. James Ag was confirming it was the XZ Premium that I reviewed previously, and I thoroughly loved it. Really good smartphone. And James Ag also coming in with another comment saying it's LDAC. I called it MDAP or something. So it's LDAC. That's the technology that Sony use in their headphones, Bluetooth headphones, to give you a better bit rate when connected to an LDAC compatible device. Joseph Apia asks, hi Dave, I'm thinking of upgrading to the Note 8, but I read there's some kind of freeze or lag with the Contacts app. What's your take on that? Never experienced a problem with the Contacts app at all. Not at all. My only issue with the Note 8 was I just found it a bit top heavy. It was a very tall device, and when I put it into my inside pocket in my coat or into my jeans pocket, and I've got big pockets, it stuck out the top. It was just a bit cumbersome to carry around, and as I say, a little bit sort of top heavy when you were holding it. You almost felt you were going to sort of drop it all the time. So that's why I probably won't make the Note 8 my daily driver. Tomorrow is in fact decision day, and not just because the iPhone 10's coming. The iPhone 10 is purely for me to cover and do some videos for you and opinion about it on the channel, but purely because tomorrow is the day I have to decide whether I'm going to send it back. I purchased it with my own money, and although it was funded through a device drive, I want to probably get those funds back in if I'm not going to use it as my daily driver, and those funds will then go towards funding more devices. I'm always on this rotational journey with smart devices, so that's how things work here. Sometimes I don't always get loan devices. I rely on sort of rotating those funds, also support through super chat, donations, ad revenue, etc, etc, and the other business that I run as well. The Know About says, bezel-less smartphones look beautiful but are easily prone to damage. Bezels offer some protection from drops. Very true indeed. Oscar Herrera says he really wants the compact model of the XZ1, called the XZ1 Compact, but it's impossible to find one in my country. I think I had somebody else mention the other day about how hard it is to get certain smartphones in certain countries. Maybe look at Amazon. Amazon.com, the US website, often ship to other countries. You have to pay higher shipping fees, but that could be a possibility. Or of course eBay. If you buy from a reputable dealer or shop on eBay, that could be a possibility as well. Just check that what one you're buying, the actual version, actually supports the cellular connection that your service provider in your country uses. So do check that out as well. Hello to Geeks Raven. Thank you very much for tuning in. Simon says, nice one. I look forward to this tech inside the Sony headphones. The Mark II is the same as the original, except it has a better look and better touch tracking on the side. And Google Assistant or Siri Assistant added. That's really good to know. So some nice upgrades. Darren Gator says, geez, wasn't smartphones supposed to make our lives easier? They certainly were, but they give us so many choices nowadays, so it's really difficult to make an informed choice. That's hopefully where I come in, because I'll tell you if it's good or bad. And indeed, a lot of people are expecting me. I've had a few private emails from this saying, I bet that when you get the iPhone 10 tomorrow, you will love everything about it and you'll be straight back to iOS and the iPhone 10. That's not how I work. That is not how I work at all. If there's something wrong with the iPhone 10, and I have already noticed from the design of it, there is a potential issue with the sides of the iPhone 10, I will tell you about it. And then you can make an informed buying decision. The same as this. This is a great smartphone, really well built, but if you want a bigger screen, then look at the XZ Premium. This might not be the right choice for you. But if you like something a little bit more compact that still has a really good performance and it's pushing less pixels on the screen because it's an HD screen rather than a higher resolution, then this may well be the right choice. If you really want wireless charging, then this isn't the right choice because it doesn't offer wireless charging. Although it does charge very fast via USB-C. Now, something I do want to mention about this, and this is something I wasn't too keen on, is I like the fact that the tray on the side doesn't require a eject tool. So we can actually take this out just with our sort of fingernail or thumbnail, and this allows you both access to the SIM card tray, which is in here, and also the micro SD card memory tray. But what I didn't like about this is, look, it's very, very flimsy. I don't know if I can sort of demonstrate this correctly, but it just moves around everywhere. It's like very flimsy, sort of moving and flopping around, and it just looks as though if when you were putting this back into the smartphone, if you didn't line it up properly and you just sort of crammed it in and it's at this bent angle, you might snap it off. It looks like it might have like a quick release on it, so it might not snap, but it would be very difficult to get that back on. So just a very flimsy tray for the memory card. And when I was putting the micro SD card memory card in here into the holder, it kept falling out. It's really tricky to get the memory card in, but once it's in, you probably won't have to remove it unless you're like me and you prefer to use a card reader rather than actually get your media off the phone some other way. I will just highlight another little device I use for normally I don't remove the memory card. Normally I use this. This is from SanDisk, and it's like USB on one end, and then so you put it in your smartphone USB-C on this end, and this is like a flash memory drive, 32 or 64 gig I think this one is. And so you put this into your smartphone, you use the companion app, free app that you download, put all of your footage on here, like your video footage, then you flip it to USB and put it into your computer to get the footage off. Or if you've got a MacBook Pro or an Ultrabook with USB-C, then obviously you use the same connection. So that saves you taking the memory card out of your smartphones, and I absolutely love that. It's very, very useful indeed. Demon Bunny says, what should I have for lunch tomorrow? Assuming you're not vegan, I would suggest maybe some scrambled eggs, a little bit of cheese for a bit more flavour, and some fresh spinach on the side. That's what I would have for lunch tomorrow. Rui Abru, do Bluetooth headphones equally work between Android and iOS, excluding the way they connect? Yes, they normally do. Normally work on any platform, including your laptop or your desktop if you've got Bluetooth in your desktop as well. Oscar Herrera says he'd already considered Amazon or eBay, but the shipping cost to my country is way too high, and I must also pay customs, and the total is like to pay for 2 smartphones. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. We get the same here in the UK. When you purchase something and import it, you have to pay import duty, which is often 20% of the value of the product, plus a courier fee as well of normally about £12 on top of that. So it can be very, very expensive. Kenneth Sim says eventually Sony had quality built and near stock Android, but their customer service really bad, especially when it comes to service repair and software issues. That's really a shame to hear. That's a big, big shame. Hello to Frederick. Thanks for tuning in. Joseph Appia says, so Apple ditched the headphone jack a year ago and other companies are following that move. And now is the Touch ID. Do you think Face ID is the future? Why can't we have both? We can have both. Samsung smartphones have face recognition, not Face ID, but very similar. And they also have a fingerprint sensor as well, so they've got both. I think it's just Apple trying to force the new design. So they really wanted this all-screen design. They couldn't get the sensor behind the screen. They didn't want to put it on the back because Apple are all about trying to keep the design as slick as possible on the back of their smartphones and on the sides. That's why we don't get memory card slots. And they did Face ID as the only option to unlock. And you might see this trend with other smartphones as well, purely because they sometimes look at Apple and think, well, if Apple is still getting sales and they're doing it, and the trend is going across to Face ID and using other sort of biometric ways of unlocking our smartphones, then why shouldn't we? Because after all, a fingerprint sensor, if we take it out of a smartphone in future generations, or a headphone socket, we take it out of a smartphone, it saves us a few pennies or a few cents on the build cost. And it really is a minimal cost for a headphone jack, a little bit more for a fingerprint sensor, of course. But manufacturers want to really eke as much profit as they can, as much margin from every device sale as they can. And don't forget that when Sony it smells fresh. When Sony sell a smartphone, they say their build cost on this was £100 or £150. They don't then get all of the rest of the money. There's the distribution chain, there's the delivery costs, there's the actual distribution to their various sort of networks that then push this out to other countries. And then if it's being sold through a carrier, then there's the carrier profit as well, or the carrier margin as well. So the margin or the profit that's made on each device has to go around lots and lots of people. And if they can save, say, take the fingerprint sensor out, take the headphone jack out, and that saves them 50 pence on each device. If you times that by 1 million devices, then that's £500,000. I had to think very quickly then. So you can see where I'm going with this. It's not necessarily for space. Sometimes they say, oh, we removed this and we removed this to give more space for a battery. And then when you dig a little bit deeper, the battery's the same as the previous version. Or it's gone up by 50 milliamp hours, but then you need more battery because you're going to be using the camera and the extra sensor to unlock your phone. So it didn't make any improvement at all. So you've got to watch these things. It's all about business. We are the consumers. So that is, I think, it's all these tricks that they do. Audi 123 000. Is the LG V30 still coming in, Dave? I'm still working on it. Funds are limited. I'm still working on trying to get a loan device for the LG V30. Bosim says, how's tricks, Dave? Are you good? What time is the room tour for Sunday? The new editing room tour, 6:30 AM GMT on the Geekanoids channel. Raymond Moore, Dave, have you updated your iPhone to iOS 11.1? What are your experiences so far? It seems a little bit better. I have updated, but still issues with certain apps crashing. Still a little bit of rotational bug issue, but it's only happened twice now, so that seems to be a bit better. Overall, things seem a bit more sort of fluid and a bit better overall, but there is still stutter, and I still do get that mail app crash. So they haven't ironed out all of the bugs, but they are working on it, which is nice to see. But I still do think they need to refine a lot more, take out all of the bloatware that they've put into iOS 11 and really optimise it again. Kenneth Sim, Dave, would you prefer to keep the classic headphone jack or change to USB Type-C for DAC quality high-res audio? You know what? I don't think they're, even with the LG V30, although I haven't tested it, I think the DACs in smartphones are never going to be the same quality as an external DAC. If I was doing serious listening, I would have an external DAC on my smartphone anyway. So I don't think it makes a lot of difference in the smartphone world. I think there's so minimal improvement putting an internal DAC in a smartphone that I wouldn't really notice any difference. It's going to be a negligible difference in audio quality. To get that real step up in audio quality, you need to invest a lot in an external DAC and then use a really decent pair of headphones. You have to have a good match as well, so that the DAC drives the headphones to their optimal quality. So very, very minimal, because when you've got a DAC in a smartphone, a lot of people are going to be using the supplied headphones or earphones anyway, so I don't honestly think it makes a lot of difference. AC Vids, hi Dave, I have MacBook Pro 2015 running Boot Camp, but when running Windows 10, AMD graphics card is not updating. It keeps giving me an error. What do I need to do to keep it updated? Wow, that's probably beyond my remit of knowledge, purely because I don't run Windows on my MacBook. I would imagine you're just going to have to wait for AMD to update those drivers and maybe look at updating them manually. But that's just my guess, an educated guess at the answer there. So anyway, I'm going to sort of close this video out with my final impressions of this and also my prediction for a future Sony Xperia. So, closing thoughts on the XZ1. And again, a big thank you to Vodafone UK for giving me this look at the XZ1 and an experience with it. I think the build quality is absolutely fantastic. It's a little bit slippery, so you might want to put a case on it, but no fingerprints, really high quality fit and finish. The screen is really nice as well. Loving this grey-blue colour. Loving the actual viewing angles on the screen. It goes super bright. It's a nice size, a nice resolution. The actual performance of the smartphone so far seems very, very good indeed. With regards to the camera, if I just go into the gallery, if I can find it, where is the gallery? You know, they call it different, there we go, album. So I'm looking under G and it's under A. So the actual camera performance on this, let's give you a little look at these photos. So I took this one, admittedly I was quite close up to the pencils and it focused on the wrong pencil, so that was a sort of a misfocus. This one here of these candles on my shelf, that is absolutely awesome. Really very, very good tonal quality to it. And we've also got a real close up there of a little bit of paper origami that somebody made for me, and then that's the zoomed out photo of that one, so you can get nice and close to the subject matter. Apologies for the reflection in the screen, but really good quality photos, very, very good colour. Performance wise, minimal lag between applications, web browsing great, watching back videos absolutely awesome. I think it's a nice all-round smartphone coming in at a decent price, either on contract from Vodafone UK or SIM free. Now, I mentioned I have a prediction for future Sony Xperia XZs, and that is purely because of this trend. So I do think we will finally see a new design next year from Sony. I think they will move away from this design that we've been seeing for so long. I hope they keep the back design, but I do think what they are going to do is make these bezels top and bottom round about half the size they are now, and also extend the screen out by about 1 millimeter either side. So we're going to get a near bezel-less design on the next range of Sony Xperia XZ, probably the XZ2 and the XZ Premium 2, or maybe their lead with the XZ1 Premium. We never know, but certainly next round of these smartphones I think we will see these bezels shrinking, purely because Sony will want to follow the trend, and they've got an upper hand on other manufacturers as well, purely because they've got good screen technology, but also because their fingerprint sensor is on the side, so they haven't got to worry about putting it on the back. They haven't got to worry about where they're going to fit it down on the front bezel. They've already got that part of it sorted. So I think it'll be primarily the same sort of design, but shrinking bezels. So we are working towards that with a lot of manufacturers nowadays. So anyway, that is it for this video. Once again, a big thank you to Vodafone. A big thank you to all of you who have tuned in for the live broadcast and asked questions. I really do appreciate all of the questions and all of the interactivity here on the Geekanoids channel. There will be a new video on the Geekanoids channel tomorrow. Don't forget to also keep an eye on my Twitter for that iPhone 10 unboxing and first look video with a real honest look at what I think of the iPhone 10. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.